Today we're talking about cleaning up our LS swap harness. Stick around, this is going to be one that you want to watch. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the garage, and today we are diving into our factory harness for our LS swap. This is a complete pull-off, and I'm going to show you what to do before you swap an LS into your old muscle car. Check it out. Problem solved. Thanks for watching. Remember, ABT, always be tuning. No, okay, I'm just kidding. Seriously though, with all the solutions out there, why would you mess with that whenever you could get this? Bingo. There is about 101 different places on the internet that you can get a swap harness. And the cool thing about it is they pull everything out that you don't need. They use new connectors, and the price ranges between, get this, $200 all the way up to $1,500. I'm not sure who's spending $1,500 for an LS swap harness. This is the cheapest one I could find. It was like $210 on eBay. And look at this thing, all new connectors. Everything is plastic loomed. All these other places that have this drop down menu for building a harness and stuff like that, they want extra to put loom on it. These guys for $200 loomed it, has a fuse block, has relays, everything is ready to go. And this is a fairly common setup. This is what they call the LS 99 through 06 T56 standalone harness. The reason it's a T56 is because we're running a turbo 400, so we didn't need the transmission connector on it. But everything else is there. We've got spare wires for things like your tack output, your speed output, anything else, check engine light. If you want to do a check engine light, we have a OBD2 port so we can hook our HP tuners up into this thing, and everything, as I said, is brand new connectors. It looks great. It was super cheap. It showed up in 3 days. So why would you spend all that time messing with old, fragile, burnt wiring that's going to cause you nothing but headaches in the long run when you can spend a couple $100? Now, yeah, as I said, there's more expensive options out there that will give you some custom options when you're going through the process. Like this one has a mass airflow sensor on it. We're not going to need that. We're not going to run a mass airflow sensor on this setup. So that technically we could have done without, but for 200 bucks, we saved enough money to pay for an entire cam upgrade on this swap and still got a simplified harness. And what you're going to get in the long run here is you've got your engine side, then you've got the side that's going to go inside of the car for mounting your ECU, a nice grommet that's a specific size that you can slide up and down the harness based on where the harness is on the engine. Then whenever you get to the engine side, we've got a couple ground plug or a couple hot wires to hook up here. We have a couple ground wires over here that go on the back side of the head. This is going to be the side that goes down by the starter. We've got NOx sensors. We've got O2 sensors on here. There's an O2 sensor for the front O2 sensors. We've got our injector harness. This one happens to be EV6. We've got our ignition coil sub harness plug-in, so the factory harness for the ignition coils will plug right into this thing. We go across the other side, we've got our other narrow band, we've got our other injectors, we've got our other ignition, then we've got all of our front accessory drive things like the alternator that we need for that side of it, coolant temp, oil pressure, all that stuff. On the inside of it, we've got our main two connectors for our ECU. This is a red-blue unit. We do have a fuse block with extra fuses. There's a cover that goes on this. It's in the box over here somewhere. And then we've got two relays. One of them being the fuel relay. It just needs two terminals with wires hooked up to it that come from power and then go out to your fuel pump. This will turn on automatically off the ECU. Then we have our ignition relay, which is our main power relay. Whenever the key kicks on, this is going to light up everything in here. Big heavy duty wire for that goes off of one of our two plugs here, our two wires here. Then we have an internal ground that's going to go near the ECU. As I said, our OBD2 port, and then all of our auxiliary wires. And we have a nice little instruction manual that shows all the compatible part numbers. So if you need a Ignition coil, it tells you which part numbers. If you need a throttle position sensor, it tells you which part numbers. These guys did a really great job. I'm not going to link to them. You can find them on your own. They are on eBay. And there's a couple things that are a little bit wrong on this, as far as like it shows a fuse block layout that doesn't match exactly what we have here, but you can kind of put it together with what we have to figure out what goes where. And so like we know that our PCM battery constant is one of the 10s. It's this bottom 10 right here. And then we've got a 15. This is our ALDL constant, TAC module, these things which we don't actually need in this case. You know, and so you can just play around with it, figure it out. $200, get rid of that old harness. I'll pull that out just in case I need some of the connectors for something else down the line. But this is money well spent. Now, as I said, be aware, it doesn't matter if you spend $200 or you spend $1,500 on these things. 9 out of 10 times you're going to find some of these connectors are wired wrong. So if something doesn't work, always go to the harness first, check the connector pin out. Say you got a coolant temp sensor like this one that's not working right, check your connector pin out on this side. Go back to your ECM side, make sure everything's good on that, because even the most expensive harnesses that I've worked with that are drop-on harnesses like this usually have at least one connector that is wrong. The only other complaint I have about the cheap one is maybe some of the tape job on the joints was a little bit quick, but I can easily peel this stuff off and throw a little new electrical tape on there, and it's going to take me 10 minutes. I've got a harness that's ready to go. So hopefully this will steer you away from the idea of hacking up a factory harness that's got brittle wire, brittle insulation, way too many wires involved. Do your research, save some money, use that money to buy some go fast parts, and that's pretty much it. Stick around. We're going to be diving into doing bench programming for a harness like this that has a bunch of the EGR stuff removed because we don't need it for our classic car. So we'll go through setting up our ECU in the next video, all the stuff that we want to go ahead and turn off before we even land this harness on the car. You don't want to miss it. Also, check out the Patreon. We've got some behind the scenes videos for the Project 442. There's some stuff that I'm doing that I don't put on the normal YouTube channel. Patrons get access to that stuff. You also get the normal access to tuning advice, all that stuff, a place to email me if you have questions on your tune. You can find it over at goatropegarage.com. Listen, I'm going to wrap it up, get back to work. You guys know the drill. Thanks for stopping by the garage. And remember, ABT, always be tuning.